Ladies and gentlemen, there is a truth many dare not speak, a truth about women that is uncomfortable, yet essential for growth. The truth is this: for generations, women have been trained to see themselves as supporting characters in a world built for someone else's spotlight. But no woman was born to be invisible. No mind was created to remain silent when it holds power to move mountains. Too often, women are taught to seek permission, to wait, to be chosen, to be liked. But success does not ask for permission. Power is not granted, it is taken, through self-mastery, through vision, through effort beyond complaint or excuse. The greatest deception is not what the world has told women, but what women have come to believe about themselves. You are not too emotional, too loud, too much. You are exactly as powerful as your discipline allows you to be. The mind of a woman, properly trained, is a force more potent than any weapon ever forged by man. The harsh truth is that charm will open a door, but only character will keep you in the room. Looks will fade, attention will shift, but a woman who has built herself on purpose, on grit, on burning desire, she becomes unforgettable. Every woman must come to a moment of decision. Will you live according to the limits set by others, or will you define your own path with courage and conviction? Understand this: pain will come, rejection will come. But these are the bricks with which greatness is built. There is no easy way, only the worthy way. You do not rise by pleasing others, you rise by conquering yourself. Control your thoughts, direct your emotions, and channel your energy into meaningful creation. The world does not need more approval, seekers. It needs builders, leaders, women who are not afraid to be misunderstood in the pursuit of something greater. If you wait for someone to save you, you will remain waiting. Save yourself, cultivate strength, clarity, and the will to rise after every fall. You are not a victim of your circumstances, you are the architect of your reality, and here is the final truth: no one owes you success. It must be earned, not in comfort, not in complacency, but in the fire of repeated effort, forged in silence, proven by results. Society has conditioned women to doubt their power and potential, not through loud commands or overt restrictions, but through quiet suggestions, subtle expectations, and inherited beliefs passed from one generation to the next. From a young age, a girl is taught to measure her worth through the eyes of others: how she looks, how she speaks, how agreeable she can be. She is not told directly to sit in the background, but she is rewarded when she does. She is praised for being nice, for being patient, for waiting her turn, for not making too much noise. These messages are not just external. Over time, they become internal voices, convincing her that confidence is arrogance, that ambition is selfish, that leadership is unfeminine. This conditioning doesn't come from malice, it comes from tradition, and yet it is no less dangerous. It has built invisible fences around the minds of countless women, keeping them in a psychological prison without bars. When a woman thinks twice before speaking her mind, when she downplays her strengths to make others comfortable, when she apologizes for wanting more, she is not simply being polite. She is echoing the unspoken rule that she must remain smaller than she truly is. The damage is not always visible. It happens in boardrooms, in classrooms, in quiet homes. It shows up when a woman hesitates to apply for a role unless she meets every requirement, while others leap forward with only half the credentials. It shows up when she hides her ideas behind someone else's name, when she softens her tone so her brilliance doesn't shine too brightly, when she fears that being respected means being alone. But power, real power, does not reside in how others perceive you. It lies in how you perceive yourself. The tragedy is that too many women have not been taught to trust their inner voice, to recognize the strength already embedded in their soul. Instead of being told, "You are capable of anything," they are taught, "Be careful, don't stand out, don't be too much." These are not cautions of love, they are chains of fear. To overcome this, a woman must begin by acknowledging that her current beliefs may not be her own. They may be inherited scripts written by a society that never intended for her to lead, and once she sees that, the real work begins. She must rewire her mind with intention, replacing limitation with possibility, replacing self-doubt with determination. She must understand that her thoughts are the foundation of her reality. If she continues to believe that she is less, she will act accordingly. But when she chooses to believe in her own power, when she decides that her voice matters, that her vision is valid, and that her potential is limitless, she becomes unstoppable, not because the world changed, but because she did. Society will still resist. There will be whispers, judgments, criticism, but none of that can hold back a woman who has claimed her mind as her own. Once she understands the depth of her capability, once she aligns her thoughts with her desires and disciplines her actions accordingly, she begins to move with purpose. She no longer seeks permission. She creates her own path, and she walks it with unwavering confidence. The truth is harsh not because it is cruel, but because it demands responsibility. It demands that a woman stop waiting for someone to notice her and start noticing herself. It demands that she take control of the narrative, write her own story, and speak her truth, even if her voice shakes. There is no room for excuses in this journey. There is no space for shrinking. A woman must decide that she will rise not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. No one can do this work for her. It is a choice only she can make. But when she does, when she breaks free from the conditioning, silences the inner critic, and steps fully into her power, she becomes a force greater than circumstance, greater than fear, greater than the limits placed upon her. She becomes who she was always meant to be, not a reflection of society's expectations, but a living example of what happens when a woman remembers who she truly is. Emotional mastery is the key to real influence and impact. A woman who does not learn to govern her emotions will find herself governed by them, and worse, manipulated by those who understand how to pull her strings. The world is not kind to the emotionally reactive. It rewards those who can remain composed while others unravel, who can see clearly while others are clouded by impulse. Emotional control is not suppression, it is discipline. It is the ability to feel everything deeply, yet still respond with wisdom. From a young age, many women are encouraged to lean into their emotions, to nurture, to empathize, to feel. While these are powerful traits, unchecked emotion can become a tool for self-sabotage. When emotion overrides thought, when feeling eclipses focus, progress suffers. A woman who cannot control her anger will speak too soon. A woman who cannot control her fear will hold herself back. A woman who cannot control her desire for approval will trade her authenticity for applause. Every successful individual, man or woman, learns the discipline of emotional restraint, not because they feel less, but because they choose to act based on purpose rather than reaction. A powerful woman does not lash out when offended. She does not crumble when challenged. She does not fall apart when things do not go her way. She recognizes that the moment she allows her emotions to lead her decisions, she has handed her power to someone else. Control over one's emotional state is the mark of internal authority. It is not coldness, it is clarity. It is being able to feel anger and still speak calmly. It is sensing fear and still moving forward. It is acknowledging pain and still choosing progress. The mind becomes sharper when the heart is steady. Emotional discipline sharpens perception, heightens intuition, and strengthens resolve. A woman who reacts to everything is easy to predict, easy to control, but a woman who knows herself, who has trained her emotions like a warrior, trains her body, becomes impossible to shake. She becomes dangerous, not to others, but to everything that tried to keep her small. Because now she is not at the mercy of mood or moment. She is moved by vision, not volatility. Emotional mastery also builds respect. People follow calm confidence, not chaos. They trust those who do not waver in the storm. When a woman can walk into a room and remain grounded regardless of what's said, when she can navigate conflict without losing control, when she can carry grace in the face of disrespect, that is influence. Not because she demands it, but because she earns it through presence, poise, and power. It is not that the world will always be fair. It will not. There will be disrespect. There will be disappointment. But these things are tests, not definitions. The question is not what happens to you. It is how you respond. When a woman no longer reacts like a puppet on strings, but chooses her response with intention, she shifts from being a player in the game to being the one who moves the pieces. This level of control requires effort. It demands that you observe yourself, know your triggers, and refuse to be a prisoner of your emotions. It means pausing before you speak, breathing before you act, thinking before you decide. It is not about being robotic. It is about being sovereign, owning every emotion and still choosing the higher path. The harsh truth is this: a woman's power is not measured by how loudly she speaks, but by how quietly she remains in control when everyone else is losing theirs. She influences not because she begs for attention, but because she carries herself with such emotional integrity that others cannot help but follow. Influence is earned in silence, in discipline, and in the mastery of self. That is the foundation of unshakable impact. Many women underestimate the power of their mind and imagination, not because they lack intelligence or creativity, but because they have been taught to rely more on what is visible than what is possible. From early on, emphasis is placed on how a woman should appear, how she should behave, how she should fit into the molds already carved out for her. What is often left undeveloped is her understanding that the mind is the most potent tool she possesses, the root of every success, every failure, every dream achieved or abandoned. The human mind, when directed with purpose, can achieve the extraordinary. It can take a vision not yet seen by the world and turn it into something real. It can rewrite destiny, bend circumstances, and rise above conditions that once seemed permanent. But the mind does not perform these miracles by chance. It must be trained, commanded, and infused with belief. A woman who does not recognize this will live her life reacting to what is around her instead of creating what is within her. The imagination is the workshop of the soul. Every invention, every movement, every success story was once an invisible idea in someone's mind. And yet, many women ignore this truth. They wait for permission, for signs, for certainty. They doubt their instincts, question their ideas, and often dismiss their own dreams as unrealistic. But nothing of value is realistic at the start. It becomes real only after someone dares to imagine it, believe in it, and work toward it with unwavering conviction. A woman who does not use her imagination to visualize her future will be confined to living in someone else's. She will follow not because she lacks ability, but because she has not learned to see beyond her current environment. When the mind is focused only on problems, those problems multiply. But when the mind is focused on solutions, it opens doors where walls once stood. Belief is a muscle, and the mind must be exercised daily. If a woman continues to feed her mind with doubt, with fear, with the opinions of others, her imagination will become dull, her vision cloudy, and her actions hesitant. But when she feeds her mind with possibility, with discipline, with purpose, she begins to awaken the creative force within her. That force does not depend on background, education, or approval. It depends on desire and direction. There is no barrier more limiting than a mind that has been convinced it cannot, and there is no freedom more powerful than a mind that decides it will. A woman who understands the power of her thoughts stops entertaining limitation. She starts designing her life with intention. She sets goals not based on what is likely, but based on what she is willing to become. The harsh truth is that no one can give her this power. It must be claimed. No one can teach her the value of her imagination if she refuses to believe in it herself. The world will always try to offer a script, but imagination is the pen that writes a new one, and the mind is the engine that drives it into motion. To underestimate your mind is to live half a life. To doubt your imagination is to discard your greatest tool. A woman who learns to think for herself, who dares to dream and then disciplines her thoughts to support that dream, becomes unstoppable. Not because of magic, but because she has harnessed the very power that built every empire, sparked every revolution, and elevated every great mind in history. This is not theory, this is law. What the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And when a woman finally understands that her mind is not a mirror of her circumstances, but a creator of her reality, she begins to lead, not just herself, but others, not from position, but from vision. That is the kind of power that cannot be taken, because it was never given. It was earned through thought, imagination, and relentless belief. The world respects strength, not softness disguised as compromise. A woman who leads with unshakable certainty commands more than attention. She commands respect. Yet too often, women are taught to seek harmony at the cost of their own voice, to blend in rather than stand firm, to be liked more than to be respected. This is the trap of quiet compromise, a slow erosion of identity disguised as diplomacy. Strength is not about aggression. It is not loud, it is not cruel, and it is not forceful. True strength is the ability to hold your ground when the world pushes back. It is the refusal to bend under pressure when your values are being tested. It is standing tall in silence, knowing that your worth does not require explanation. A strong woman does not sacrifice her truth for approval. She understands that to gain real respect, she must first respect herself enough to speak and live without apology. Compromise has its place, but not when it means shrinking to fit into someone else's expectations. The world will try to convince you that softness is grace, that silence is virtue, that endurance is success. But endurance without direction is not strength, it is stagnation. A woman who constantly gives in, who constantly adjusts to avoid discomfort, is not being noble, she is being controlled. And the harsh truth is that the world does not value what does not assert itself. Respect is earned when a woman refuses to be moved by flattery or fear. It is earned when she says no and means it, when she draws a line and enforces it, when she sets a standard and lives by it. People may not like it, but they will respect it. And in the long run, that respect is worth more than any fleeting approval, because the world may celebrate charm, but it follows conviction. Softness, when rooted in strength, becomes power, but softness without strength becomes submission. It becomes the silent surrender of ambition. It becomes the reason so many women settle for less, not because they cannot do more, but because they are afraid that standing firm will make them unlikable. But being liked is not the goal, being respected is. Being powerful is, being authentic is, and that requires the courage to risk being misunderstood. To build strength, a woman must first decide that she will not abandon herself. She must face her fears, train her discipline, and master the art of self-command. That strength is not developed in comfort. It is forged in moments when everything inside her wants to retreat, and yet she moves forward. It is built every time she says, "This is what I stand for," and refuses to flinch when challenged. The world mirrors what you project. If you show up with doubt, the world will question you. If you speak with uncertainty, the world will overlook you. But if you speak with clarity, move with certainty, and live with integrity, the world will take notice. Not all will agree, not all will approve, but many will respect you, and more importantly, you will respect yourself. Strength is not found in rebellion for rebellion's sake. It is found in knowing your principles and refusing to trade them for comfort. It is not found in resistance alone, but in resilience, the ability to keep going when things get hard, to lead when things get unclear, and to rise when others expect you to fall. That is the strength the world cannot ignore. When a woman steps into that strength, she stops negotiating her worth. She stops asking others to validate what she already knows within. She becomes solid, not unkind, but unmovable, and that is when the world listens. That is when doors open. That is when influence begins, because strength, when rooted in purpose and held with grace, becomes the foundation for real power, the kind that lasts, the kind that changes lives, and the kind that cannot be denied.